USC Trojans preview video, guys. The I-80 boys over here. Do us a favor before we get going. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps the channel out. We're trying to grow the brand over here. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into some USC Trojans football. Chris, I'll start us off here with the offense. Look, Caleb Williams is gone, right? But that's okay. Lincoln Riley is a quarterback whisperer, right? He's a guru, a savant. I think even Oklahoma fans still refer to him as that guy out west, right? That bitch out west, right? Anyways, had to throw that in there for fun. Look, I trust what he can do, as far as having a top 10 offense, right? I mean, I think every year Lincoln Riley has a proverbial top 10 offense. I'm never worried about that. Chris will tell you what their issues are here in just a second. Look, Miller Moss steps in, and he should be pretty good. He balled out last year versus Louisville. He put up 372 yards and six touchdowns in that game against a pretty good Louisville team. Now, it's a bowl game. A lot of people are going to say, well, they were depleted, they were this, they were that. It doesn't matter. The kid came in and balled out. The run game should be good. Mississippi State transfer Joquavius Marks comes in. He's going to split time with Quentin Joyner as well. I think this is an offense that, look, they want to throw the football. They kind of want to pound the rock at times, but they really want to throw the football more often than not. Receiver room, Chris, they're going to be just about as talented as anybody else out there, right? They got Deuce Robinson, who I think was a converted, he's a tight end he's that tweener, that Brock Bowers type of guy that can play in that slot. And they've got Zachariah Branch, who had a breakout year last year for him. Look, two of the most talented players in the country, I think, at their respective positions, and I think both of them flashed last year. I think they're going to build on that this year. O-line has a lot of young talent that I think should be pretty good for them as well. So, with that being said, Chris, I want to throw this over to you. I want to hear more about the defense of the Trojans.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley and defense, they don't go together. I don't know if he doesn't believe in defense. This is dating back to his time at Oklahoma. And I've harped on this channel about Lincoln Riley a lot. I do think he's a great offensive mind, like you just mentioned, but I don't know what the deal is defensively. And it seems like every offseason, people ask him, media, everything, he's going to get it addressed, right? He's going to get it addressed. They got to get it addressed now. You're in the Big Ten. There's a lot of good teams over there. Their schedule is relatively tough. We'll dig into that here in a little bit. But defensively, last season, 34.4 points per game given up in the country. That was 121st. So not good. You never want to be that low. And here's the other thing too, Christian. I was looking through last year's schedule. They gave up 30 points 7 times last year. That's a lot, man. I know the Pac-12 was decent last year, but my God, hard to win games like that. Now, moving on to this year, they're undergoing a complete overhaul defensively. And now I do like the pickup. They did get D'Anthony Lynn. That's their defensive coordinator. He was the head coach last year, Christian, at UCLA. He took a UCLA defense that was rated 89th 2 years ago. They finished number 11th last year. So, I mean, this guy can't coach defense. I think that was a smart move by Riley to pick him up. They also got linebacker coach Matt Entz from North Dakota State. We know what they do in Division II. They also picked up Eric Henderson, a new D-line coach. He was on the Chiefs staff last year. So it did look like he did go out and address these issues. So they do get 3 returning starters back. A couple of them. Big Bear Alexander, your boy from Georgia. He's a hell of a player. Didn't hear much about him last year. I think part of that had to do with the defense being so bad. But they do get Eric Gentry, and then they also get back a DB, Alik Arnold. So those guys are all studs. Don't get me wrong. They added a lot of pieces in the transfer portal. But, it does take time to gel. We know that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, Christian, let's pull up a schedule here, and I'll give you my record prediction for the Trojans this season. Now, I know we're going to differ on this one, and that's okay. I'm going to start this off by saying I do have USC going 9-3. Now, I know that's going to shock some people. It's very easy to take this the other way. I'll rattle through my teams here, but they do play that LSU game right away, week 1. Now, I think if these two teams would have played last year, it might have been 100 to 101. Both these teams were great offenses last year. No defense was played, but I am predicting that LSU does win this game. I think this game is a coin flip, though. So We can differ on that one. Utah State, that should be a game that USC wins. Big game at Michigan. I think they drop that one as well. Just being at the big house, I think that gives the advantage. I think USC is going to be one of these teams that gets better as the year goes on. Wisconsin, I mean, this is a tough 4-game stretch here for USC, but I do think that USC gets the win at Wisconsin at home. They play at Minnesota. Minnesota is going to be one of the worst teams, in my opinion, in the Big Ten this season. Then you got Penn State, another tough team. I have Penn State winning that one. Now I have USC rattling off wins all the way throughout the rest of the year. That includes Notre Dame. That includes at UCLA. That includes Nebraska and at Washington. Rutgers will be a tougher team as well. I know that shocks you, Christian. I can see in your facial expressions. But I do think USC is going to get better as the year goes on. Like, I truly do. This schedule is not easy by any means either. This starts out tough and ends pretty tough as well. So I want to hear your thoughts, Christian, on this and see how much we differ.
We're close. We're very, very close. I got them going 10-2.
Holy shit.
Look, I think they beat LSU. Like you said, Chris, LSU and USC are carbon copies of one another last year, right? Two Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, two prolific offenses, two defenses that honestly might as well have not traveled with them or even showed up at the home games last year. I think USC in this arms race did more on the defensive side of the ball than LSU did. And I know LSU went out and tried to address their defense as well last year. But I think USC, number one, has better talent, and I think they have better coaching on the defensive side of the ball. Look, like you said, DeAnthony Lynn, to me, is the biggest piece of this puzzle. I was very hesitant last year with UCLA when we were doing our preview video because I just thought they lost a lot of talent the year prior. This guy has never been a defensive coordinator before, and he took them. I mean, he basically rocketed them right up there, and they were a good defense last year, and they played some good offenses too. So my losses is basically this: Penn State and Notre Dame, and I'll explain why. Penn State, they're going to be a tough team this year. They get a lot of guys back. James Franklin, I think this year is an improve-it year with Harbaugh leaving Michigan. The Big Ten is wide open. He's got to do something. Then you go down to Notre Dame. Same thing for Notre Dame, this year, right? Their coach is Marcus Christ, I believe, right? So they've got to do Marcus Freeman. That's right. Sorry, I was thinking one of their quarterbacks back in the day, by God. Anyways, Marcus Freeman. He's going to make it or break it year this year as well. It's the last game of the year. Here's the thing, right? We don't talk about this enough. When you go into the last game of the year as a college football team, you expect to be banged up. So it's whoever can stay the healthiest going into the last game of the year. Notre Dame is not a slouch. They travel. They play well. They're a brand in and of themselves. They're going to look to try to knock them off and, try to do what they want to do. With that being said, Chris, I want to ask you, what's the ceiling, what's the floor for USC this year?
I think this one can differ a ton, depending on the quarterback play for USC. And more importantly, does the defense show up? If this defense is just like it was last year, which we don't obviously expect it to be, things could get really ugly here. I think they could have a 5-7, 6-6 type of year. The schedule is pretty brutal. LSU, Michigan, Wisconsin, Penn State, Notre Dame. I mean, these are some tough teams. I think as far as the ceiling goes, I would say 10 wins, maybe 11 if things look really, really good. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if maybe USC gets off to a good start, a win over LSU, that they could go beat Penn State or something like that and get it rolling. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting what USC does. Christian, I'm going to flip that over to you though. And what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I would say 8-4 is probably the floor for me.
Okay. Wow.
With this, LSU, Michigan, again, Wisconsin, they get to play Wisconsin at home. I'm not really bullish on Minnesota. So, okay. I could see 4 losses in a schedule like this. I could, but I think on the flip side, what's the ceiling for them? I mean, you get past LSU week 1 and then you go into the big house and beat Michigan. That's pretty good. Then, like you said, they get to play Penn State at home. I'm going to give them 11-1.
Okay.
I'll give them 11-1. Is my ceiling for USC.